Excuse me. What in the world are you thinking?
Mean Gene, the first thing you need to do is to tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I gotta say.
What up, y'all? It's KMB, the Sexy Ninja, in the place to be for Paper Saber Universe, and this is the New World Podcast, brother. And we're talking about Collision, September 16th, 2023. Kevin Kelly, Nigel McGuinness on commentary. We're in Penn State University. Whew. Big show. Lots of news. Lots of news this weekend, man. Like, I'll save this one for when we get into the show. But AEW on Max, streaming next year, 2024. Does that mean we're going to get all the back catalog for Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, everything on the Max app itself? Because they already have AEW All Access. Why not have more AEW? And not only that, but go to 12 pay-per-views, a year. 12 pay-per-views. I was like, holy fudgel sticks. I'm already committing myself to so much, but man, I was like, all right, well, I guess, this is what it takes to be a pro wrestling podcaster. Bring it on, brother. Someone asked me, they're like, how do you do it, KMB? I was like, I try. And when certain things come up in my life, and I miss certain days, and it kills me a little bit, but I know I'll come back and still talk about this. But man, that's huge. AEW on the app Max, then going over to 12 pay-per-views a year. What is your thoughts on this? For me personally, I like the spread of the pay-per-views. It made the pay-per-views much more special. I know WWE does it, but that some pay-per-views are like, yeah, it's kind of like, whatever. 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 And there was a time when WWE was like, you're getting 2 pay-per-views a month, okay, for both brands. I was like, no, I don't want that. So I don't know how Tony's going to handle 12 pay-per-views in a year. He could handle it great. He could handle it not great. There could be throwaway pay-per-views, but that's what, for me personally, I really like the AEW pay-per-view thing. And then they got Wrestle Dream, and Wrestle Dream's kind of like the half Forbidden Door and half like other things going on. It's just a whirlwind of I think it's going to be a great pay-per-view, but for me, when they added Wrestle Dream, I was like, okay, we're gonna mingle this year. We're gonna see, get in between. Then we got Full Gear right after that, because the pay-per-views were more annual than anything, and which I really liked about it. But now it's like, holy shit, now we're gonna get a pay-per-view a month from AEW. That's interesting. Paul White's in some stuff. So Will Ospreay was on social media, pissed off. He got a tattoo for the 81,000 fans in London. 81,000 tickets were sold, but in attendance was 72,265. And Will was pissed because he got the tat on his arm for 81,000. What they said and what they've been printing on shirts and, all night saying, we're in front of 81,000 fans, but the UK was like, it's actually 72,265. There you go. And then Tony Khan's like, shut the fuck up, So they did not beat WWE's record for SummerSlam, and for WWE's biggest pay-per-view was WrestleMania. Not there in the UK, but still, like, it was kind of, and Will was like, I'm fucking pissed. And you got a tat of it. You were told this is the number, but in actuality, this is the number that was actually there. I would be a little pissed off too. So drop those comments below on that. I want to hear your thoughts, because he just came out and was just like, yeah, I got this tattoo and I'm a little pissed. So what am I going to do with this now? Because it was a big moment for him. Going against Chris Jericho. Big moment, and wrestling in front of that many fans, and then being told like, yeah, but still 72,000 is a lot. So don't hate on that. Like, because I was seeing things like, oh, they lied, WWE lies and all that. They all lie, man. It's professional fucking wrestling. It was built with lies. Like, it was built on the fact of, like, you got to sell something, a product, back to the carnival days, if you will. Ric Flair wasn't truly styling him and profiling behind the scenes. The man was like making himself that. He took that and he made it, even though he was going broke in certain areas and this and that. But he had to keep that luxurious life alive. He wasn't out the get-go, but that's the work, man. And like, I get why, this was a big show. 72,000 for AEW. That's huge. That's huge. We shouldn't knock on it. And WWE lies as well. Like, promoters lie. It's just what they do. It's because you want to hype a product to the highest expense possible. So everyone like, oh, look at they lied. It's just like, yeah? Have you not been watching professional wrestling for years and years? It happens. Promoters do that to hype the product. So, I feel bad that Will got it tatted. I'm just more like annoyed with folks who are like, oh, I was like, come on. Or we're going to talk about AEW Collision. I think I already said September 16, 2023, Kevin Kelly, Nigel McGuinness, we're in Penn State University. We started off with Bryan Danielson and Claudio versus Big Bill and Ricky Starks, and Big Bill, Ricky Starks got the win. Yeah, I was like, oh. All right, and Ricky Starks got another one over Bryan Danielson because he was mad beforehand. Like, why is everyone saying Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson? I get it. What about Ricky Starks? What's happening to me? But he's got another win over Bryan Danielson. Even if it was a tag team match. Yeah. And backstage, we got the Bucks and Hangman Adam Page. They're challenging for the Ring of Honor Trios Championship. They said, like, hey, you heard you talking smack about us, so this and that, why don't we challenge for those championships right there, the triple championships in Ring of Honor? And I was like, yeah, because they haven't been used or challenged in a while, so why not? When they mentioned the Ring, I was like, oh my gosh, hell yeah, I am down for that. Next week, this week, that week, Grand Slam to Rampage. The Collision's going to be crazy. Filled with awesomeness and just great shows. They had a Hobbs and Miro package. Who cares? Moving on. FTR versus Iron Savages. Who could call this one? FTR for the win. But Workhorsemen come out. Now the tag team titles have gone from being like this special thing, and we get some really great special matches, and there's open challenges now for them. So I was like, oh, Workhorsemen, that's cool. I guess Iron Savages, that's cool. But FTR ain't losing the titles to them. But Aussie Open, Aussie, oi, watches on. We'll get to that soon. Take 22 for Keith Lee. They've done this twice in the show. This was the first one. I don't know if this was something intentional or something as a mishap, but if y'all taking 22 takes to get this promo right with Mr. Shane Taylor interrupting with Lee Moriarty, like, we need to go back to the drawing boards. And if this is just something that was kind of silly to be silly, I guess, because it happens again with Ricky Starks later on. So I don't know if this was intentional or not intentional, or it was an actual fuck up, but 22 takes just to get Keith and Shane Taylor to, Lee Moriarty, like, oh, is that, like, if it was intentional, okay. If not, 22 takes, really? Eddie backstage, oh wait, I skipped right over this. I'm so sorry. We had John Silver versus Anthony Bowens. John Silver promo, he's got the contract, and that was earlier on. They're like, hey, if you didn't sign the contract, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. They claimed they're banned from ringside, no scissors, and my favorite part of this whole thing, besides the match was okay. My favorite thing of this whole thing was when John Silver's like, I looked up scissoring. It's not what you guys talk about. But John Silver for the win, so it sets up, Dark Order versus the Acclaimed, and Daddy asked for the Trios Championship, but I was like, oh, Anthony Bowens for the loss. Okay. Now Eddie Kingston backstage, and he says, he's like, I'm going to fix it. He starts cussing, the beep, 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 beeps. All that, being Eddie, cutting his promo. He's like, man, Eddie's so great with, just looking at the television. Like, what do you mean? Well, get that mic out of my face, blah, blah. But then he cuts a promo. Like, what do you want me to say, huh? What do you want me to say? But Claudio, he has such a great way of being like, I don't give a fuck. Then he makes us give a fuck because he busts into the promo. I've always liked Eddie Kingston's mic work on that. Then next up, we had Hook and Cassidy backstage with Renee. Cassidy goes, hey, while eating Doritos, my favorite kind of Doritos in the purple bag, he goes, hey, tag, cool. And Renee's like, cool. I love Orange Cassidy. And I was like, okay, so we're going to team him with Hook. We'll see where this goes. Make sure to bring the Doritos. Aussie Open versus Squash Gang. And they cut a promo afterwards, and this is what we're going to talk about. A challenge at Wrestle Dream. Because earlier, a year from that date, a year previous, I just saw the match. It's now online. Versus FTR. And Aussie Open's like, hey, you guys keep listing your accomplishments. We were all those things, man. But we haven't been the AEW Tag Team Champions. But that's another goal they want to set. So that's going to happen at Wrestle Dream. And I was like, oh, my gosh. I just talk about this? I was like, who's next up? Who's going to dethrone FTR? It's Aussie Open. I said that. It's recorded. It's out there. Go look for it. And I'm like, okay, at Wrestle Dream, Aussie Open. Aussie's going to get those tag team titles off of FTR, and I'm excited. So when I get Squash Gang matches like FTR versus Iron Savages, FTR versus Workhorsemen, I'm like, no. I want to see Aussie Open versus FTR, because if you go watch that tag team match from less than a year ago, oh, so good. But Aussie Open challenged them. Then we go to Toni Storm, Portrait of a Star. I'm loving this. She's with RJ. She's Hollywood, baby. She's just pure Hollywood, and I'm loving every factor of this Toni. And she has her match against Saraya. I like when they're like, can we dim the lights? I'm not being, this isn't an interrogation. And she's like, oh, I don't like this lamp. And that's what sort of ends the interview. Entertaining shit here. Andrade versus Scorpio Sky. All this building for Scorpio Sky, and he loses to Andrade. I was like, oh, okay, I guess, I was like, because they show some packages. Usually when they show packages of a wrestler about to come back and stuff like that, they usually win at, like, the first handful of matches. But no, he lost to Andrade, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, sure. But the Bang Bang Gang comes out, Blackpool Combat Club, and Andrade's really using that figure eight, showing his love. But then they break up? I don't know. I really don't pay attention to relationships. I think they're like, oh, she unfollowed me, I unfollowed you, blah, 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 blah. Blackpool Combat Club comes out, setting up some beef with Andrade. Too bad they can't take a mask to set this feud off. My favorite part was when Jay's like, hey, I want to tell everybody here. And he comes, hey, where are we at? Oh, yeah, Penn State University. Don, Kenny, Ibushi package with Takeshita. Ibushi, they stabbed the painting and stuff. I don't know. It's the drizzling shits, as Jim Cornette would say. The Righteous versus the Hardys. Pretty cool, right? It was okay. But it made me happy that the Righteous beat the Hardys. I was very excited about this. I was like, hell yeah. Promo after this, and I'm like, still like, where's Stu? That was my whole question, because Stu's great. Stu's fantastic. And he wasn't there. But they're eyeballing MJF and Adam for those Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. And I was like, ooh, the Righteous, huh? All right, I see you now. You got some eyes on you, MJF and Adam. Some eyes on you, indeed. Shabatas with Tony. Like I said, this was a lot setting up for Grand Slam next week. Tony's with FTR. Tony's with Ricky Starks backstage. So there's a lot setting up for next week. Grand Slam. Tony Khan is going for the Grand Slam. I keep seeing numbers aren't so great, but I'm not a businessman, so I'm not going to speak on numbers. I'm not a businessman at all. But we have the TBS Championship match, Chris Statlander versus Britt Baker, after having a grueling match with Jade. I really thought Britt was going to win. I don't know why, but JR's on commentary. But Chris Statlander for the win, real quick, 1, 2, 3. Wasn't a quick 1, 2, 3. It was a good match. This was a great match. Julia Hart, though, is watching on. I'm like, what does this mean? All right. And this is the first female main event on Collision. So take note there. Fun match. I think this is one of my favorite Britt Baker matches. I have a handful of them, but this was really fun for the TBS Championship. Kind of sad that she lost. Overall, lots of setup. Got Russell Dream around the corner. We got Grand Slam, and I think Grand Slam is what we're aiming towards. And I will say, if someone asked me, now that you're watching Collision without CM Punk there, is there a difference? Yeah, I can see the difference. There was consistency of the way the show was laid out. I don't know if I'm crazy or not, but this feels like Dynamite. You got all these matches thrown in, but beforehand, what made Collision cool is it was kind of spaced out like a SmackDown. You didn't have a shit ton of matches. You had things in between. You had things that were okay, here's this and here's a match. This match and this match and then here's it was really spaced out. But for this show here, it's like if you watch Ring of Honor, man, Tony can stack those things so bad. I think one night I was 19 matches in one night. I was like, damn, dog. You need to tell a story here. With the show itself, some backstage stuff going on and stuff like that. This show is just a lot of setup. And hopefully the setup pays off. But for me, yes, I can tell there's a little bit of a difference with Collision because I honestly give the show, this isn't my favorite Collision. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't over the moon with it. I give it a solid, just like Rampage, 3 out of 5. I give it a 3 out of 5. We'll see the big payoffs next week at Grand Slam. But a lot of stuff going on with the AEW on Max, 12 pay-per-views, Paul White and some water, Willow Spray's tattoo, the attendance and all that for All in London. So a lot of things going on. So I give it a 3 out of 5. Tell me what you thought of the show. Drop those comments below. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, share with your grandma, share with the bum down at Walmart. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com/New World Podcast and get yourself that sweet nWp logo created by Penta X. And that's it. That's all. All right, y'all? That's it. That's all. Okay, fine. Whatever. Move on. No, not move on. You know you love me. I am KMB the Sexy Ninja, and as always, the New World Podcast is for life, brother.
Yeah. Grand Slam?
Let's do it.